for you to join us also during the African University Week celebration, the AAU, so you can partake in the activity fully. And let me take this moment to introduce to you all my amazing speakers. I think that when we began the webinar series from episode 1 to 3, we have been graced by so many wonderful speakers, and we have such wonderful diversity, North, South, East, and West, Central Africa, and it's always been very, very successful when it comes to discussions and insights shared. The first on my list is Professor Romila Mohi. She is the Higher Education Commissioner, Mauritius. You can wave so we can see you, Prof.
Yes. Hello.
Thank you so much for making it up. And also Professor Tamzini Khalid, University of Susi, Tunisia. Thank you so much for showing up. Professor Bulanli A. Akinwade. She is with the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Lautech.
Hello.
So glad to have you here, Prof. I also have Octavius Masuda, University of Johannesburg.
Hi, everyone.
Great. And, this is my friend. I've been looking for him, get in touch with him, and finally he got back to me. Dr. Julian Bobino, PR consultant, University of Wolfsburg.
Hi, good to see you.
Splendid. So, nice people, we have our speakers here, and we'll do as usual, dig deep into the conversation. This episode is looking at 4 very, very important areas. We're looking at the issue of boosting faculty. We're looking at the issue of trying to also help enhance student support services. We're looking at the issue of providing a whole lot. And I don't want to just bore you with all the words. I want us to go straight to the matter so we can all appreciate the speakers. Let me start with you, Professor Romila. I know you are all geared for the conversation. Start off with us with the issue of the biggest barrier faculty members are facing, and developing faculty is key for the kind of quality you want in the university. However, we have found the challenge when you start around Africa that there is a huge faculty gap. Whether it's evidence-based or not, which universities do you think that there is a barrier facing affecting faculty growth and affecting professional development in sub-Saharan Africa?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Darko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It's already afternoon in Mauritius. And I thank you for this opportunity to be able to share a little bit about what we think from Mauritius about all these very important areas. Dr. Darko, I'll just have to say that sometimes I'm not hearing or not being able to capture exactly what is being said. So if ever you lose me, please just wave or then I'll repeat myself. Right. So first of all, I see on the poster that I'm still being presented as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius. I have to say that I was Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius from 2013 to 2016, but now I am the Commissioner of the Higher Education Commission, which is that looks at all public and private universities in Mauritius. So these topics that we are going to discuss today fall very well under the mandate of me as Commissioner, but also during my experience as academic and researcher and Vice Chancellor of the university. I would say one or two of the there are many barriers, but as Darko said, we will try to talk about one or two of them. The most significant barrier to faculty development in Africa revolve among the first one being limited funding. Universities, one of our main challenges has always been limited funding. I have to say that in Mauritius, all public universities are fully funded by the government, and the students, the learners, they do not pay any tuition fees. So funding is done by the government, is a big burden on the government, so that it's always a question of priority. Limited funding is definitely one of the primary obstacles behind staff development or faculty development. And also, one of the items, the issues that we see also is that, especially Mauritius, but also in Africa, we are in a way in a sort of geographic isolation. or if you want to call it intellectual isolation, because we are quite far from what is being done, what is moving very quickly in other countries. And for years, we have talked about trying to develop South-South collaboration so that we can be sure that our faculty members do benefit from other trainings, other faculty, other systems, other courses that other faculties have done and shared. But this is still, we are still struggling with that, I would say, on the continent. Even though we talk a lot about OER, we talk a lot about, sharing resources. Often we get very nice opportunities from, I would say, northern countries, but they are too expensive, or sometimes their cultural contexts are not matching ours. So I think we have a couple of barriers. And the third one that I would like to touch upon is that faculty members themselves very often face overwhelming time constraints. With all the different incentives and promotion exercises that happen in universities, the biggest chunk is always given to research, right? And sometimes teaching and learning, or teaching is not the first in the top priority of a faculty. So when a faculty has to kind of give its time, it will tend to, work in research, publish, etc., so that it can go up the ladder. And therefore, spending time into professional development is very limited. I think I'll stop here. This is basically what I wanted to say. Yeah.
That is a great way to start the conversation, and everybody on the platform also relates to what you're saying. That is, the lack of funding is the basis for the biggest hindrance to faculty development. And I would also want to move on to the next speaker. And let me just move to Mr. Tamzini. Prof, how can institutions better support faculty in balancing teaching responsibilities with research and development activities? And it's also part of the development component or matrix in faculties. How can that be done?
Thank you, Professor Danko. Thank you for all of you. Let me say I'm very happy to be with you today, having me. And it's a real pleasure. To answer your question, let me say that supporting faculty in balancing teaching responsibilities with research and development activities is crucial. It's crucial for fostering a productive academic environment. And let me give you some strategies institutions can implement. We have, first of all, let me say, the strategy based on the flexible workload policies. So now, to allow faculty to negotiate teaching loads, especially for those engaged in significant research projects. So we have some professors, we have many projects, crucial projects, either for their faculty or university or their personal career. So this could mean reducing teaching hours for those taking an extensive research responsibilities. The second strategy is the integrated support systems. So establishing dedicated research offices that provide support for grant writing, proposal submissions, and project management. We can talk about the mentorship programs, for example, that there is less experience in the faculty with mentors who can provide guidance for balancing teaching, research, and service commitments, helping them to navigate their academic careers. So there is multiple strategies. I will just give you some strategy applied by our Sousse University here in Tunisia. So let me finish with third strategy, the research incentives. It's very important. And here I agree with my colleague, Professor Romila, to say that fundings and the grants, they are very, very, very important. So provide internal grants and funding opportunities specifically for research activities is very important. This can motivate faculty to engage in research alongside their teaching roles. This is my intervention for this to respond to your question, dear Professor Darko. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good attempt over there. And now we go to Professor Bolanle Akinwande. Prof, what role do you think partnerships can play, both international or local partnerships can play in advancing faculty skills in emerging research areas?
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I wish to thank the organizers for the privilege to be here. I get it right? You said, what is the role of policy? Is that right?
Yeah, partnerships. Partnerships.
Okay. Yeah, partnerships. Well, there is no gainsaying that is the ultimate. If there is no partnership, be it with industries, with governments, with NGOs, one will just be doing it without.
No, Prof, your mic just muted, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I said without partnership, then there is nothing being done. Because at the end of the day, one will just be working. Faculties will be doing their work on their own that will have no benefit, that will have no relevance to the world at large. So talking about partnerships, it is very, very important that at the beginning, that institutions should engage with industries, engage with government organs that are related with the mandate of the institution, and also with some NGOs, because it gets to some time that there will be bits of hindrances, be it that they want to do research. For the research purpose, the essence of a research is to solve some problems. So if they partner with government organs, they will be able to reach out to the community members, and from who they will be able to get the real problem that we face. And at the end of the day, channel the research they do to the needs of the society. I'm talking about teaching as well. Partnership with industries will give a guide on what type of curriculum to develop that will address recent events, that will address recent needs in the industrial world. And also for the NGOs, they are always having access to funds. If there is partnership with NGOs, they could be able to fund some research and also be able to fund dissemination of research findings to the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. And, you know, Dr. Julian has been working on alternative sort of funding for universities for some time now. And I want to put this one to you, Dr. Julian. How can funding challenges for faculty development programs be overcome in resource-constrained environments?
Thank you so much, and all the best greetings from Germany, from the north in this case. So this is a very interesting question, especially for resource-constrained environments. So there are, of course, a lot of effective approaches. I think the first one and one of the most important ones is the leverage of external grants and scholarships. So you have to foster talented young researchers, but also senior researchers at the faculties directly with personal fundings for their research initiatives. And of course, we also talk about strategic partnerships as a second effective approach, where you collaborate not only with other universities, but also with industry players, with NGOs, and with local and regional and national organizations. And of course, when we're talking about resource constrained environments, there are a lot of cost sharing models, for instance, where different departments put together their budgets to finance some specific research initiative, which is multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary. but there, of course, also can be an opportunity to focus on high impact but low cost initiatives. So to design programs with, let's say, the highest impact per dollar. So when we're talking about skill sharing workshops, peer review groups, kind of mentoring, which is in fact for free, it's cost only the time of the mentors and the mentees, or targeted short courses. So I think by employing those diverse strategies, you can build up a robust faculty development program with low cost and with a high impact.
Thank you so much for that note. And let me go to Dr. Octavius. Doc, how important is mentorship in faculty development, and how can institutions create effective mentorship structures? Hello, Dr. Octavius, are you here? Looks like we've met with us. Dr. Octavius, can you hear me? Masunda, can you hear me, sir? Oh, I think we missed him. We missed him, and we would have to show the question to Professor Romila. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You can help with the question. I think we missed Dr. Masunda. It's about mentorship. I think that every speaker can have a minute to touch on mentorship if you want to. How significant is mentorship to faculty development, and how can institutions build up very robust mentorship structures?
Yes, thank you for that. I think one of the things that has to be there for it to work, you need to have a proper structure for mentorship. Because again, when professors and faculty, they get into universities, they would look at their career path, they would look at their research structures, they would try to build more formal structures for students, but they would not really have the time to dedicate to like younger staff, etc. So I think universities already in their strategies, they need to have structured young faculty mentorship programs, right? So that you pair as soon as someone gets into a university in your induction program, like for students in universities, you pair that young lecturer to one of the professors so that that professor can guide the way to these to the young lecturer. But like with everything else, it should come up with certain, I would say, not financial incentives, but it should come up with some incentives that really make this work. It should be a win-win. Very often you have all kind of schemes that look very nice on paper. They look very nice in strategic plan. They look very nice, but then if they will not work if you do not have some practical implementation. Right? So you need to, as a leader of a university, you already need to start thinking, how will you do this pairing of mentorship, etc. Right? I know certain universities have very formal systems where they will have mentorship books, they will have manuals, they will have all these kinds of systems. But we have to be, I think, realistic that this is very difficult for us to be able to accommodate into our own research work, uncertainty about what's happening and all the dynamics of the tertiary education landscape. Now, what I feel, I'm an engineer, and I always believe that when we talk about mentorship, we should also talk about mentorship with our external stakeholders, like mentorship with, for example, industry people. Right? We talk. We just heard the previous speaker talking about, partnerships with NGOs, etc. We should not be limiting only to the academic world. I think mentorship has to go outside as well, so that we are sure that we are staying connected to this famous world where we want to now align, etc. Yeah.
Great.
That's my.
Let's take the perspective of Professor Tawzini on this issue of mentorship.
Yeah, of course. I think that there is very importance to focus on this an urgent, let me say, priority to focus on the culture. Let me say that we have to enhance, I think, the institutional culture to support the mentorship. You know, in our university, we don't have this culture of mentorship. I'm sorry to tell that, but this is the reality of the things. So creating a supportive environment is very important. A strong commitment program to foster a culture of collaboration and support within the institution, encouraging faculty to share knowledge and resources between different stakeholders, not only between professors, students, and also as Professor Romela said, between the faculty members of the ecosystem of the university and the external partners, or let me say the stakeholders. So the industry is very important to develop and to foster the university and its objectives, or to reach its objectives and its realize its mission. So there is another point, the retention of talent. You know, we don't only give the opportunity to students to have a diploma, but also to in my sense, to develop not for all the students, to create future talents for the industry and for the country. So effective mentorship can improve job satisfaction and retention rates as faculty feel valued and supported in their professional journeys. So I think this issue of culture is very important to develop this the mentorship mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bolale, on mentorship.
Thank you very much. I think we all know that mentorship in its simplest term means replicating oneself in a system, and it cannot be overemphasized. The mentorship, as was said before, could be in a formal or informal mode. While informal could be forever, it is important to have a formal one done. And with formal, there will be a timeline, and that would enable the mentee to be very, very serious with the mentor, because it depends on the existing relationship before. And when we talk about mentorship, it is not necessarily because of the age. It is primarily because of the experience that one person has more than the other. And that is why it is important, very, very crucial, that institutions should try to have it as a means of policy to make this happen. Because it is the essence, what happens when there is effective mentorship is that a supposed job to be 10-year journey of a mentee will be accomplished within 2 years. And also, if this happens, this will be to a great advantage of the institution. Institutions should never play less on the issue of mentorship, and there has to be a policy on it, which will make it to always happen. And also, as was said, it should always be a win-win. The mentee most times is the one that gains most, but at the same time, there should be a sort of reward for mentors. And this would happen by tracking the success of mentees. It is how far they have been able to move within the shortest period of time that would dictate, that would extend, that would showcase the impact of the mentorship process. And because of this, if the mentor is so rewarded, maybe in an open function or an event at the university level, such mentors should be rewarded as a means of encouragement. So it is very, very crucial that institutions should try to have it as a means of policy information. Thank you.
So much, Prof. Akinwande. That's well said. Julian, your take on mentorship.
Just a quick note, and I want to refer to what Professor Moui said before. I think the world outside academia is sometimes a little bit underestimated, and it's so important also to work together with alumni as really underestimated potential for young students to be their role models. You have so many alumni, and we also at the University of Würzburg try to start to use this as a resource, like business founder, people working in multinational enterprises or in regional smaller enterprises. And they are really looking for contact points to their former university, to their alma mater. So they are willing to be mentors. And also what always already has been said, they are looking for a win-win situation because they want to stay in contact with young students and their young ideas, and they profit from those ideas also in their companies and their NGOs and so on. So just a personal quick note, once I was a mentee, and then I moved on to be a mentor. So for me, it was like a really good personal experience to have experienced people beside me asking me questions, but also giving responses to questions I have about business, about university academic career, and so on. So it was a really good experience for me at that time.
Thank you so much, Julian. And I want to also call upon Dr. Masunda. I think he has a challenge with the internet, but he wants to speak. So, Doc, can you hear me? Dr. Octavius Masunda. If you can hear me, you can activate your sound and share with us via audio. That's okay.
Thanks, and good afternoon, everyone. Apologies for the technological mishap earlier on. I understand the question is on mentorship, and my experience is that right often early career researchers or lecturers face quite a number of unique challenges, which provide them the needs that institutions should have a sort of a structured program where we develop formal mentorship programs wherein we can, for example, pair experienced faculty with new lecturers, new teaching staff, and we then outline very clear expectations and goals, for the simple reason that going around the academic culture for a new employee, new lecturer, new researcher is not exactly an easy fit, because new employees have to deal with issues of the academic culture, issues around publishing, issues around securing funding. So this then justifies the need for mentorship. Another issue that I also feel is important has to do with networking. Mentors have the responsibility to facilitate connections within and also outside the institution, so that at the end of the day, we can assist faculty insofar as building professional relationships is concerned, so that at the end of the day, there is strong collaboration as well as career advancement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Octavius Masunda. I think that your point was well made. It was pretty tough to get you, so I hope that you can find ways to amplify so we could hear you properly. I'll come back to you again. And so this is where we come to an end with the first part, which is enhancing faculty development. We now want to move to the next part, which is to strengthen student support services in higher education institutions in Sub-Saharan Africa. We will do the first two, and then we'll take questions and comments from our participants, and we'll do the last two afterwards. So participants, just bear with me and bear with us so we can take this on. The first question on student support services going to you, Professor Bolanle Akinwande. What are the critical student support services that are most lacking in our institutions here in Sub-Saharan Africa, and how can they be effectively, I'll say, reduced or minimized, the whole lot?
Well, thank you very much. I think the one that is very crucial now is the issue of mental health. The students now, they have access to all sorts of I say drugs, all sorts of drinks, and over time, some of them, they are not from rich home. They are from poor parents. They lack sufficient funds to survive in the school. When they get to school, they relate with all sorts and find themselves in several. At the end of the day, majority of them, even though it's a very silent one, issue of mental health, and this should not be taken for granted. They should, immediately it is obvious in any one of them, I think there should be a rapid response to address it. And institutions should put measures in place to monitor students, their performance. There are some that they will start well, and over time, the performance will be dropping. If not that such is monitored, at the end of the day, by the time such student is graduating, it will be a very bad situation, and it cannot be changed. So there should be structures in place, the means of treating them, and the means of having interactions with them. Although it is in place that in some institutions, we have lecturers with some students to guide them as advisors. But most times, these students do not come up with the schedule. So it is the onus of the institution now to advance the process, maybe by having it as a timely event, and also to organize things like conferences and workshops to talk to the students, having experts from outside to come and address them, such that they will be conscious of what they are into, and also enable them to change for good.
Thank you, Professor Bolanle, for that. And to all speakers, if you want to touch slightly on a previous suggestion made, you can do that as you address your current question. I want to move to Professor Thamsini. Professor Bolanle mentioned mental health as one critical issue that should be mitigated when it comes to student support services. Do you agree with her that mental health stands tall, or there are other support services that should be ready to students to help them become the best of themselves in their universities?
Yeah, of course. I agree with Professor Bolanle. In fact, to respond to a question, I will base my response on our own experience at the University of Sousse. Since many years now, let me say at least 5 years now, we have launched our own counseling service regarding or dedicated to the mental health of our students. This issue is very, very important now, and this is manifested different phases of mental health. It's not only, let me say, there is many factors that impact the mental health of our students. Social problems, economic problems, family problems, etc. And developing counseling service and the university or faculty is very important. Actually, in our university, we have only 2 professionals, and one of them will be retired in few months. So with the faculty with 30,000 students, having only 2 persons or 2 professionals, it's very, very, very low ratio. So one of the solutions to overcome this problem of mental health is, first of all, is to increase access to counseling services. So hire more mental health professionals. So institutions should increase the number of trained counselors and psychologists. Let me say that, to reduce the wait times and to provide timely support to students. So, and in addition, we have to expand service hours. So, offering flexible hours, the weekends, for example, including evening and weekends, and it makes it easier for students to access mental health services. there is many strategies to implement, to overcome this issue. And for example, let me say the very problem of awareness, to enhance awareness and education. So the mental health awareness campaigns. So conduct regular campaigns to educate students about mental health issues, available resources, and how to seek help. So when we have a problem, for example, students, they don't aware this problem, especially when it comes to mental health. So it's for me, the culture is very important. How to manage this issue and to give our students this facilities and this easiness to speak about their problems and to don't hesitate to talk to professionals, to mental health professionals. And I think this is a social issue. It's not only specific to our students.
All right. All right. Professor Romila, Professor Tamzini mentioned that you have to now provide more counselors so they can engage students, which I find a very expensive strategy, quite expensive. Is there a way we could use or leverage technology's prowess to enhance or create access to academic advisory, career guidance, and those student support services through digital platforms?
Yes, certainly. But I would like to come back a little bit on that issue of mental health, because I can say I spent more than like 30 years in academia, and as Professor Khaled said, there was not even one counselor at my university for many years. And then suddenly we found ourselves that we need to have counselor because students are having mental health issue. And I have to say that it was only during COVID and after COVID that really acted as a catalyst for us regarding mental health issues. I think many of us didn't even realize that students of that age in higher education would be having mental health issues. And I did a study which I wanted to share very quickly with you. Just after COVID, I tried to talk a little bit and research on the impact of COVID. Everybody was doing, I know I'm digressing, but I think that's an important point. Everybody was doing impact of COVID on faculty, on students, on everything. And I have to admit, I was very shocked when I read a study about WHO releasing in 2022. And for many universities in the States, it reported a 25% increase in the global prevalence of anxiety and depression during the first year of the pandemic. You know why this is very important? It's because at that point in time, because we could not reach students through face-to-face learning, we all went to online learning and thought, this would solve the problem. But when you look at the quantity of depression, anxiety, mental health, which started at that point, and even later post-COVID, you could still see, for example, university students experiencing mental health issues more often than the general population, with 4.4% facing anxiety and 3.6% experiencing depression. Of course, I'm not putting all the references, etc. But this is shocking for us, right? Especially, as I said, we have no support. So definitely, we need to have more support at the level of the universities, and I think Professor Bolanley and the other speakers have talked about that. But it sure is expensive, because for many reasons. One reason is that because we were not really aware, so there are not many very qualified professionals who would be willing to leave their job and come to universities to be able to advise students, right? And secondly, also because this is often seen, I don't know in other countries, but in my country, for example, this is seen as a taboo. if you're feeling depressed, you should not tell anyone. This is not good. You are not you have to have good student well-being. So I think apart from finding probably partnerships with the government's Ministry of Health and NGOs to help the students, I think we need to put in our curriculum a module on well-being, mental health and well-being. This is something that should figure in everybody's program of study. Like an elective or like a module that fits in. It could be an online platform. It could be a learning resource. But I think we need to address this issue because we tend to think that, higher education students are privileged students and they do not face that problem. And Professor Bolanle rightly said they come from all backgrounds, all sectors of the population. We should be really conscious of that. Having said that, I would say two things. Also, financial support is another one to our students. We all know that. I think everybody knows about that. We all have schemes like needy students or banks giving loans to students. So this is another student support, very important. And last, I would want to say that even academic advising is important. Not only in terms of career, in some universities, students are allowed the choice of choosing what materials, what courses they will take, what programs they will take. And often it's in the third year that they realize I was not good for mathematics or for social sciences. I should probably have been advised earlier in the first year that switch to another course. I see this lacking in many universities. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bohi, for giving us some internal strategies. Let's now talk to Dr. Masunda to help us. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I need you to kindly augment your voice a little bit so our participant can hear you properly. And your question is about, having said all the internal remedies to supporting students through their mental health, I think that stands as tall as their biggest challenge. Are there any other external support systems that we could introduce to support students overcome mental health?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to believe that there already has been initiatives that have taken place between universities as well as external partners to deal with this challenge of mental health, which is causing serious problems amongst the student population. And one area or one thing that needs to be done is to collaborate with businesses so that universities can create sort of structured internship and apprenticeship opportunities which can then allow students to gain practical experience while they are studying. And I'm sure this is something that has been going on. But also importantly, it is necessary to initiate the process of engaging in guest lectures as well as workshops wherein health professionals can be invited to institutions of higher learning where they can then conduct activities such as workshops, maybe seminars, provide guest lectures, where insights are discussed insofar as the effects and outcomes of some of the problems like drug abuse and so forth are concerned. Then, importantly as well, institutions can be encouraged to partner with career development organizations which may offer maybe specialized counseling, assist students maybe in other related and important issues like resume writing, how to prepare for interviews, and so forth. Then I also feel that it is important for universities to work with the non-profit sector, or what we ordinarily call NGOs. Because once we bring in NGOs to collaborate with students, these are organizations and institutions that can assist our students by providing them training in soft or human skills, leadership skills, and other competencies which they may not necessarily get within the university, because the university normally focuses on equipping students with technical skills. By collaborating with the NGOs as well, we can also help our students to develop skills as they volunteer, as they also contribute to social causes. Then there was a question, I think it was addressed earlier on how we can leverage or exploit technology in terms of dealing with issues of mental health. Most of our students nowadays, I would put it that more than 80% of them, they are Generation Z. These are tech-savvy young people who are socialized by technology. Therefore, it becomes important to harness technology as a tool or as an agent that can assist us insofar as dealing with issues of mental health is concerned. So universities may need to collaborate with government, may need to collaborate with big tech companies, develop apps, chatbots, or whatever platforms that can be developed, which students can make use of, so that they can deal with some of the challenges which they face. Then there is also the issue of, I think, professional associations, where we can encourage students to become members of professional associations that deal with issues of health, issues of mentorship, issues of careers, and so forth. So when students join in these particular associations, they can connect with other professionals in their fields, which can also assist them access other resources which may not be available within the university setup. Thank you.
I see comments from our participants about the struggling to hear some of our speakers. Yes, I also admit that. I think that our speaker, Dr. Octavius Masunda, has a very unique way of talking. I would just want to encourage him that he does more audacity, because we struggle to hear him very well, but he does deliver as usual. So, Octavius, we just want to I say that you just augment your voice a little bit so we can hear you properly. I know you agree with me. So to kindly work on it for us. Let's now go to Dr. Bobino. I haven't really come to you on this issue, but mental health, student challenges and the whole lot. What is your take on this issue and how we can enhance student support services in campuses here?
So I totally agree with all that has been said. So even in Germany and in Europe, it's still a taboo. And what, in my opinion, is the problem is that we should raise awareness amongst all faculty members, especially professors and teaching staff that are in direct contact with the students. So I had several cases in my academic career where students came to me and said, okay, I cannot, I have to extend the deadline because I'm not feeling so good. And in Germany still people say, okay, go out, sit in the sun, take a coffee and smile. But this is not how we can heal depression, you know. And what I also want to add, because the COVID pandemic has, of course, led to a shift towards the awareness of mental health issues in Germany and in Europe as well. So there was a problem also because I want to add an intercultural perspective. I had at that time, I had two students from Tumasa in Nigeria, and they came like 1 week before the lockdown in Germany. So they were here for 6 months in an Erasmus program. And of course, nobody had a clue how to help them because there are no therapists, no social buddies that speak English or French and that are really trained to help students in such cases. Of course, the COVID pandemic was very special because it was new to everybody, of course. But this was really problematic. So imagine you have like mental health issues with international students at your home university, and what do you do with them? So I think what we need is a bigger awareness of the subject as well, as general, and more training for, of course, also international office staff to deal especially with this issue of mental health issues with international students and also staff members. So we are focusing on students, of course, but you have also the same problems with international guest professors or young postdocs or docs or whatever. So this is also like a big issue, of course.
Thank you. And at this moment, I will now give the room to our participants to also share their comments and questions to our speakers. Let me start with some comments that came in the chat box because they wouldn't talk about it. They would want to send a message. So let me just do the honors and read them out to our hearing. I'll go to Professor Suleiman Sadiku. He's the first to raise his hand. So, Prof, I got you. Seen you. I'll call you. Very first question from
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Professor Suleiman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Today your camera is off. Your camera is off today.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll put it on now.
All right.
Back.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. I want to make my modest contribution on the issue of student post services as it relates to mental health. I think the ultimate goal in our university and our campuses is to make the campuses home away from home. If we're able to do that, then we're able to resolve most of these mental health cases. I want to talk from practical experience. We need to have what we call, to make it home away from home, you can have internal and external factors and contributions. One, we can have what we call host family scheme, particularly for international students. I had that scheme with me in the UK. When we arrived, most of us were suffering from nostalgia, and we were made to understand that there was that scheme. We were tagged to local communities, local people to fend for us as like foster parents. And with that helped us to stabilize in the UK. That host family scheme is a program that can be invented in most African universities, brought to African universities, so that we can make our campuses home away from home. That's number one. Number two, the issue of residential campuses. Most of the times, in the past, in Nigeria, we had residential campuses. Most universities practice residential campuses, where students were on campuses. And by that, we are able to regiment them and control their character so that the true academic culture will be in them. And if we are able to achieve that, it means that your students will be worthy in character and learning at the point of graduation, because they will graduate with university character, not the character outside. So, but later, because of financial constraint, most campuses, most universities will not cope and start having more off-campus students than on-campus students. And they started bringing these characters of outside, particularly drug peddlers, drug addicts. They started copying them and bringing these characters to our campuses. So we're having that problem in most universities now. And the best bet is to actually encourage residential campuses so that we have more students on campus. And when to have that, the character of campus will now rub more on the student outside. But in most campuses where you have more students off campus, you always have this problem of mental health, the problem of drug addiction, the problem of maybe criminal tendencies happening among students. The more students we have on campus, we're able to regiment them to give them that campus and university character, which we expect of them at the point of graduation, so that they'll be worthy in character and learning to take our certificates. That is point number two. Number three, the issue of technology. Somebody has already said we can develop apps, we can do all sorts of things. Yes, we can do that. Most importantly, let's be sure of communication. Communication is very important. So that students, when they're on campus, thanks to technology, thanks to ICT, they can be in constant touch with their loved ones. With technology, you don't have to be traveling. In the past, they have to be traveling every month. We had a case like that in the UK. A Nigerian student couldn't cope with her studies because she lost contact with her husband and children. In fact, she lost the program. She lost the program because she couldn't cope our civil welfare office of my university had to contact using relay technique, had to contact another country to link her up with her families so that she could stabilize. But it was too late. So if we have effective communication, so that students on campus will be in constant touch with their loved ones, that will also help in psychotherapy and using technology. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Professor Suleimana Sadiku. Let's now go to Dr. Kwesi Nkum. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, can you have your camera on, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Building on the immediate past speaker, I think that our overemphasis on academic issue is one major challenge when we're talking about student support services. You would recall, I'm from Ghana. I'm in a commander college. You go to University of Ghana, every hall of residence had a chapel added to it for personal reflection. It is now missing. Even when old universities put up residential facilities, that part is taken away. We have monetized everything. Personally, I think lack of personal reflection in a care for student, it's one of the major challenges AAU may begin to address. As a support service, I've worked in a support services for students at University of Education before. I'm now currently in Commander of Education. I think that overemphasis, we should not overly emphasize on certificates. But the other side, you see, the pneumatic, the SOMA. In the past, it is students who invited people to come and teach them. If you go to the history of universities, are you getting me? Now we are scripting lecturers, administrators. It's not the university, it's like focused on lecturers and administrators more than students, which we must begin to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Wilson. And let's go to Professor Kefera. Prof, let's hear from you. With your camera on. Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And I want to talk about the boosting faculty development. We know all the shortcomings. We know all the shortcomings. We know the deficits. We have, I have to say, I can talk for Ethiopia only. I do not know the other countries in Africa.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have the material of lectures, to call it so, what we have. And we have to improve improve the lectures as such by training the lecturers. We know it's very difficult. For example, my background is economics. How can someone lecture accounting and have never seen a bookkeeping document from the company? Or how can one lecture cost management and have never done cost accounting, have never done a calculation in a company? How can people, our lecturers, lecture entrepreneurship and have never worked one single day in a company? This is the fact what we have right now. And in Ethiopia, we are in the situation that we have now the differentiation of the higher education sector, and we have now the splitting in different higher education sectors in the way that we have the research universities, comprehensive universities, and universities of applied sciences. And I have been working in the universities of applied science sector. We have seen that our lecturers are not ready for universities of applied sciences. We are also faced the situation there is no money. And then luckily at that time, European Union has opened also the Erasmus Plus for Africa. And then we started, I mentioned in the chat, we started with the FACE. This is the abbreviation, and is universities of applied sciences are fit, adjusted, innovative, trendy, and holistic to meet industry and the labor market. This is now in the month 18. Of course, you will not see changes right now, but we are working on that. We have done another project. This is called EdFam. This means Ethiopian Djibouti Female at Makerspace, to provide lecturers, researchers, and students a floor for hands-on activities. And we have 5 makerspaces, different makerspaces in the making in Ethiopia and 1 in Djibouti. And then students and lecturers should travel around and learn. It's also open for all other African countries. Whoever wants to come to see, to work there, or replicate, it's possible because it's the European philosophy to replicate. And the next one is now what we start, it's now in the signing process, MADE for UIS. MADE is for methodology and didactics, education for universities of applied sciences. And here the focus is again to how to bring the practical world or the world of work to the lecturers. And we focus here on virtual reality, on augmented reality, and simulations. And with that, we try to overcome this situation, what we have. And if other countries, other universities have similar situations, please contact us. Look on our websites once we have set up all the websites. You can replicate what we are doing. You can come see and what we are doing. We can have discussions. This is the European philosophy. That means in one country you start, we can reach out to others. You can do your own project. You can learn from that what we are doing. And yeah, with that I will stop. Every one of you is invited to contact me to give you the further information about the projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kefera, for your contributions. And I will take Dr. James Ishola, then I'll come to us. Dr. Ishola, can you put your camera on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
You can
adjust your monitor, your screen, so you can see your face.
Oh, okay. Can you see my face now?
It's okay. It's manageable. It's fine.
It's okay. Thank you very much. It has been an interesting program. I just want to quickly say 1 or 2 things. I think there are certain things that we have to understand and address it. A lot of things are going wrong. It affects both the parents, we lecturers or teachers, and the students. However, on the part of the parents, you find out that nowadays, this generation, the way we push our students wanting to go to higher institution, at the age of 14, 15, you want them to have gone to the university, and most of the time you find that these students cannot cope with the challenges in the environment. So issue of having mental problem, peer group, drugs, all this and that. Most of these students are not matured enough. They don't even know the implication of what these things are. Just because they see it in social media, they want to practice it. It becomes problems in the universities. In my country, Nigeria, we found out that recently the JAMB and the NUC, they were saying if students are not 18 years, they should not go to universities. You see a lot of parents, they don't want that kind of policy. And it's very important. 2, we have lost our culture. Most of the area, and that's why most of these students, they have problem of a culture. They can't, in our days, the fact that you are a university graduate does not mean when you see a lecturer, somebody who's as old as your father, to respect all those things. That's our own culture. But now, all those things are not there. However, for me, in my own university, I am from Thomas Adewume University in Kwara State, in Nigeria. There are few things that my university has been putting in place, to make sure that at least there is decorum among these students of higher institutions. Especially, number 1, we found out that most of the students, they don't want to read, they don't want to They don't want to do anything. They want to play. So apart, the university put in place skill acquisition. In my university, you cannot graduate, you see, without having a skill, at least 1 or 2 skills. So this one will occupy the time they feel they are too free. So the university make sure that there is period for entrepreneurship where they can learn skills and acquisition. There are even some that are zero-based units, but it is compulsory for them to be able to graduate. And also the issue of the student using technology, especially phones. Most of them 24/7, they are on their phones. They will pretend as if they are reading, but they are looking at different things. My university have been monitoring it to make sure that students are motivated. There's some university in Nigeria that doesn't allow students to do school. Though even we allowed it, but we monitor them. There's a time they can use it so that the student will know the value of these things. Number 3, my university have been doing, they've been collaborating with the parents. The university hold meetings constantly with the parents to let the parents know what the university is experiencing from their wards, so that we can collaborate together and make sure that these children are trained very well. Somebody talked about religious the other time. I want to agree with it. In my university, you see, we don't discriminate in my university. We have religion, we have chapel, we have Muslim community, and these are places where lecturers who are either Christians or Muslims, they can counsel this. And finally, in my university, we have a standard counseling unit in the university. These are areas where students have opportunity. You know, we can talk to them. You know, even when they didn't perform well in their exam, they have to go there. Those who perform below, they go to the counselors. And even in the faculties now, we have counselors in faculty. All this one will join hands with the dean of the faculty and other lecturers. I mean, to make sure that these students, they are able to cope. But like I said, finally, the problem or the ball is in our hands. We parents, we lecturers. Many lecturers now, they unlike in those days. Most lecturers, they are politicians, you know, too business-minded, don't have enough time, you know, even for the students. I think we need workshops. My university every month we do knowledge exchange workshops where even the lecturers, where we are told a lot of things that can help even we ourselves as lecturers and can help the students to grow. I think if we combine all these things, you know, higher education, you know, we take this place back like it used to be in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. James Shola. And let's take Dr. Waruku, and we'll go to the chat box and have some feedback from that.
Hello, sir. Can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay, thank you. I can hear. Sorry, I almost missed the last speaker because of some connection. But I hope I'll not repeat what has been said. Basically, I think listening in, I assumed that we were dealing more with the symptoms of a problem. Because I think a number of the things we are touching on are manifestations of a deeper problem. And I would have recasted this on the basis of the role and place of the universities in the transformation of the societies. So that then we'll be looking essentially from how originally and the evolution of universities in Africa would be dealing with the issues of research. How essentially would be looking at even how our own universities were actually set up, the status that a university professor had, that has increasingly been watered down. And indeed, nowadays it is very rare to hear of public officers really thinking of, can we get any research products from the universities? Can we get serious think tanks from the universities that would help us to move or to develop or help our society in this manner? And so that then brings me to, why is the decay? Why has this happened so fast? Because then that is when we find ourselves with a situation where even managing the students within the campuses becomes a problem. I think I should have indicated that I'm from the civil society, but I work with the unions at the university. I work with the students at the university. I work with so many other stakeholders. And analysis of this nature, it becomes very, very important. And so for me, it would be important for us just to revisit a little bit. Why the university in the first place? Is it just one of the conveyor belts that now there's an entry of students and there's an exit? Is it just that space where, okay, at the end of it all, you are carrying some papers and saying, I went through a university? Can it be registered? Can it be seen in the products that the universities themselves are producing? And so I think it would not be fair if we discussed all this without going to the issue of how politics has interfered with the proper functioning of our universities. How underfunding, actually defunding in most cases, has really affected research to the extent that our professors, our researchers are not fully engaged or meaningfully engaged. You'll find that a lot of the time it is about going to the lecture theaters and regurgitating the materials which were done many years ago. You know, the technology world is advancing. Some of the universities are unable even to update or upgrade their own institutions or centers of learning. And the students also watch. The students watch by realizing that actually, even if you do not invest heavily in it, you'll still pass. There are cases where we've witnessed universities where payments to the lecturers has not been forthcoming, but they are expected to teach, to support these students and ensure that they actually graduate. In fact, I wouldn't mention the name of the university, but where almost for 2 years, the universities were being paid, the lecturers were being paid less than 50% of their pay. And so they were really struggling to see how do they supplement their income. So they were not fully engaged in that. And what happened is that each year the graduations were going on normally. In fact, to the extent that the administrators are looking for marks for this from these lecturers, some who are now involved elsewhere. So are we dealing with the quality issues? And I'm saying those are part of the manifestation of the deeper problem. The interference, the political interference, and the defunding of the universities, and really not giving the right stature to this to the universities. In this case, I'm putting them wholesomely because not just the public universities alone, even the private universities have suffered. But I'm anchoring more heavily on the public universities. You've witnessed cases where the students, if their funding has actually been diminished to the extent that they go to the universities and then they look for alternative accommodation. Those alternative accommodation includes some 10 by 10 rooms where you find 8 young people calling themselves university students. I've put 3 mattresses on the ground just for sleeping. And you think that these are people who would enjoy learning and studying there. They would enjoy even going to the student center or interacting with their lecturers whenever they get a chance in the senior common rooms, actually to help them upgrade their knowledge. So there's a lot more that we may need to revisit. But most importantly for me, let us push so heavily for more financing to the research, because that in itself would be very helpful. And 2, let us make it possible for those centers of knowledge generation, including the senior common rooms, where the professors would sit and just exchange ideas and just ensure that there's that freedom to express themselves and even to address or call out in case there's a serious interference from the political ends on how the universities are being run. I think let us vocalize that and be the real oversight in terms of ensuring there's quality in the university and how even the students themselves are being managed. Maybe an example that I witnessed, a case where the students themselves have realized that even quality is being compromised. They are dealing with this is a food and science, a Bachelor of Science, Food and Technology class. They are being taught parasitology. Their semester is coming to an end. They have never been to any laboratory. They have not seen any single parasite. When they ask, they are told, no, you'll pass. Those are the issues which make it very difficult then to sustain the level of quality that would be required. So thank you. Sorry to summarize it in that manner. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to go to the comment section and read one or two questions over there be addressed by my speakers. Dr. Bariham Idrisu says, how can African universities improve their infrastructural deficit? And how can they overcome the challenges presented by a large classes lecturers have to teach? That's the first one. And this is also from Johnson Olupona, who says, I have been a regular participant in almost all your webinar sessions. Thank you, Johnson, for that. And also following up with your program since the time I participated in the AAU conference and International Conference Center, Abuja, Nigeria. Please, how can I enjoy the benefits of AAU in line with the discussion of today, particularly in the area of funds, fellowship, and grant opportunities? I would also want to direct this question to Professor Frederick Atoama, who is joining us. Prof, if you can, the camera would be so good, so I could you could respond to this question. I think Johnson wants to know how the AAU could support in these areas as he's been following us for a long time.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so a number of programs, activities are actually hosted on our website. So if he could go to our website, you will see a plethora of training programs, webinars, short courses that are in tune with his expectations. And then he can then select the ones that best meet what he intends to do and then participate in it. So I think that will be the most important thing to do now. The website has a plethora of information indicating the kind of capacity strengthening programs that we are delivering, the kind of research innovation partnership that we are brokering. And then when it comes to issues about engagement beyond academia with civil society, communities of practice, businesses, industry, it's all actually documented on our website. And I'm sure when he goes to our blog, he will see a plethora of things that he can actually engage with. I think that is a useful starting point when it comes to this.
Thank you, Prof. Appreciate it. This is also from Jacqueline Ogo. She says, I think mentorship in the home should be relooked into how academic mentorship should also be strengthened. Parenting is losing its value, thereby affecting the mental and emotional growth of the young graduates. They have difficulties in applying common sense to solving everyday problems because the elderly seem to be doing everything for them. I think we should integrate general reading programs with skill-oriented ones to support our students, as this has the benefit of opening up minds, relieve stress related issues while being productive. Thank you so much for your contribution. Let's see. This is from Bai Bure Blyden. This is Bai Blyden contributing to what Professor Margaret and Professor Bolanle Akinwade has said about collaboration. My background is in power and energy, and a presentation from a few years ago focusing on industry. Its principles, however, can be applied to all industries. Standardized curriculum throughout AAU ecosystem with links to the international institutions is the main thrust of my thesis. So this Mr. Blyden over there sharing the information. You could visit that in later on. Let me come to my speakers. So speakers, you've heard a lot from participants, questions and comments here and there. Just give you a touch, just a brief touch on what you make of them, and then we move to our next two areas. So let's start with you, Professor Mohi, and then we go to Professor Akinwade, and then we'll do Professor Bobino, then we do the rest. So let's start with you on your take on what's happening.
I think there are very pertinent issues, inherent issues, which we have heard. I mean, of course, we tried to stick to the questions and we gave relevant response to what was being asked. But I think all the speakers, the participants, have brought in some very serious issues that we have in academia and that we very seldom talk about. Unfortunately, we won't have time to go into all of them, but some of them do pertain to, I did hear about how we should not be too much restrained into our own academic world. We should be involving external stakeholders, and this is something that we've been hearing, that we tend to be in an ivory tower, right? Academics, faculty tend to be in ivory tower. Also, the other professor talked about financing. This is a reality that all of us face wherever we are. Public financing is becoming a big issue and will become a bigger issue because of the competitiveness of other priorities for financing at the level of a country, at the level of any institution. I think you would really need to have a session on that one, Dr. Darko. And one which I don't know whether we will have time, but one that I particularly feel about, and I'm trying to work on it, is really increasing the employability of our graduates. I think really having our curriculum, transforming higher education to make sure that we align with what is happening on the labor market. I think we'll take it as the last point. But I just want to say this. Many universities think that we are just creating knowledge for knowledge, but this is not true. At the end of the day, that graduate has to go and earn his living. So we have to make sure that whatever we are teaching are relevant to what is being needed, so that we are all needed in the society. Right. I'll stop here.
All right. Okay, so we can also have some just few touches by our speakers, so we can move to the next one, the next topic. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think what we cannot say happens to most institutions is underfunding. Somebody said something on infrastructures. Definitely, we lack that. And when we talk about underfunding, I don't think it is peculiar of Sub-Saharan African institutions alone. A way out of this is for institutions to strengthen the faculty on grantsmanship. When they are strengthened in that area, they could be able to attract funds that would, and when they have such funds in partnership with institutions across the globe, they would have opportunity, have sophisticated infrastructures into the university. So, and another thing that is very important, as much as we think we do research, a component of academic, a component of a faculty is to be able to disseminate research findings. Outside doing the research, having these findings out to the stakeholders outside is extremely expensive. No research person can finish research and still be able to go to the public to disseminate. It's when there is funding, and I'm not sure institutions can put down funds, but they should also look into that because it will add value to their reputation. So issue of grantsmanship cannot be overemphasized. Institutions should look into this, train their faculties such that they can be able to advance the course of this.
Thank you. And for the sake of time, I would have to go to Dr. Bobineau to begin with the next topic, which is about enhancing internationalization and collaboration in higher education. And let me start with you, Mr. Bobineau. How important is internationalizing is, and how is it critical embedded in institutional strategy to ensure long-term success? Does it really play a role in ensuring that institutions have long-term success to internationalize?
So to successfully embed internationalization, you need, of course, a strategy paper. So this strategy paper or the strategy must be rooted at all levels. So this begins with a clearly defined vision and goal. So where are my partners, what are my priorities, how do I select my partners, where do I want to evolve my activities, and then set out an institutional mission statement and, of course, other strategic plans that I spread out into different departments, different faculties, depending on the focus. What I learned in my working experience in academia is that fostering international collaboration must become critical incident of the institution's DNA. So the culture that you have integration into curricula, in the student programs, but also in research programs and administrative processes. So there are a lot of different initiatives and measures that you can take. But of course, we are all coming back to this topic. We need money and investments in exchange programs, because international collaboration is, of course, beyond all digital possibilities like virtual exchanges and virtual reality and augmented reality and so on, and digital tools. It's a very personal thing. So you can, from an intercultural perspective, you can jump into another country or another region, university and academic culture only when you see this culture and when you feel this culture. So also despite climate change and so on, when we're talking about internationalization, we have to take the train, the bus, the plane to see other universities, other academic cultures. And coming back, and this is my last point, to the administrative basic, of course, you need special offices in your faculties, in the departments for internationalization, dedicated persons who are dealing with the whole strategic plan, and of course also develop partnerships in the different fields. So this is, in my opinion, the basic for sustainable internationalization.
And I will go to the other speakers about models. I think we can wrap it up in here on models. What are some of the cutting-edge models that can be deployed to enhance internationalization? How can we do that? So let's share the models across board. You can start, Dr. Bobinoda. I'll go to Professor Khaled. Then we'll take models from our speakers. Which models can start at a set of time in this case?
Thank you, Professor Darko. I think that internationalization is based, first of all, on the vision and the leadership commitment of the university. So we can't talk about internationalization without this focusing on this the vision. I mean, to articulate a clear vision. Why I would like to internationalize my university? What are the objectives? So I think that develop a clear vision for internationalization that aligns with the institution's overall missions and goals. It's very important. So this vision, I think, should emphasize the importance of global engagement for student learning and international repetition. In addition, I think that we have to incorporate internationalization into strategic planning. So it's not a question only of vision, but we have to talk about the strategic planning. I mean, we have to integrate this internationalization with strategic goals. So include internationalism as a more component of the institution strategic plan is very important. Set specific measurable objective related to international partnerships, student mobility, and global research initiatives. So, of course, we can imagine some solutions like Erasmus Plus. Like I heard one of the participants previously said about the European engagement in Africa. Sub-Saharan countries. So yes, it's one of the solution. We can multiply the diversify the initiatives with other countries, of course. But here, for example, from my experience in Tunisia, especially with my University of Sousse, we developed since years now different international programs, especially with European Commission and Erasmus Plus or whatever, and fostering the mobility of administrative staff and academic staff and students for all the disciplines. So, of course, the technology disciplines is the most developed specialty, and we can find the different mobility projects with European Commission. Let me follow by saying that to enhance curriculum and program offering, internationalism can help your institutions and help your university to enhance your curriculum. I mean, to update or to be aligned with what we do the best globally. So global learning outcomes is very important. Incorporate global learning outcomes into academic programs, ensuring the student develop the skills and competences needs for globalized workforce. Another point which is very important, I think, knowing that I'm part of the quality department of my university, the accreditation and the certification and certification of our institution, and I mean ISO 21001 and the accreditation of our curriculum. Our programs. It's very important it gives you the opportunity to reach some international opportunities and to deal with the universities overall the world, and to say, I have my accreditations, I have my certifications, so you can trust me. So you can trust the quality of my offered by my programs of my and for my students. So I'm a professor. So it's very important to focus on this point. The accreditation is very important. I know there is detractors of this. This way of thinking, but it's the reality of things. Now, when we talk about internationalization, we don't talk about you have to open your mind to what we do the best and what is the needs of the market globally. Something else, I think, we have to invest in faculty development. So training and support. So provide training for the faculty on internationalization, best practices, including how to integrate global perspectives into their teaching and research. So I mean, the research is obviously internationalized. So but sometimes we have to deal with some local problems. It's normal, I think, but give a huge or expanded or large scope of research is very important, and for not only for the session, but also for your institutions. That's, I think, the main points I would like to focus on. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, I would have to improvise a little bit and try and do some time efficiency tactics over here. I would want to now jump into our last section, and I'll throw that to Professor Akinlade. Prof, you may want to flex with the previous issue, but still addressing the current one as you. The last one is with aligning educational outcomes with labor market needs, a very important issue. And I want to ask you, how can educational institutions in Africa better align their curricula with the demands of the labor market in sub-Saharan Africa? This part will be held mainly by you and Professor Ramila. I will also go to Dr. Professor Khaled and also Dr. Julian to also share views on this one. So let's go ahead with you, Professor Akinlade.
Okay, thank you very much. I think when we talk about labor markets, we talk about the community and we talk about the industries. When this has to be achieved, it's very important to have collaboration and partnership with industries. And it is important to have members from the industries come to institutions to come and teach, and also have part of faculties go out to the industries, go and do bits of, spend their holiday time and leave time there and learn innovations. It is by having this information that they can know what is demanded in the outside of the institution, and it will enable a revision of the curriculum at hand. Of course, there is provision that curriculum should be reviewed at least every 5 years, but there has to be information on the needs. And also, by interacting with the community people, it is then that one will know what they want. Like I said before, at times we think we have solutions for people outside. We do not. It is important to interact with them, get the information, and come back home to reform the curriculum at hand. And it is when this curriculum is well built that the students that are being trained can have relevance outside. So the key thing is that there has to be exchange between the industry personnel and also faculties. Let them come in, come and teach, and let faculties go out, go and learn what is going, such that there can be a revision of curriculum. Thank you.
Let's go to Professor Mohi.
Yes.
What are some of the effective models for university industry partnership that promote skills development relevant to current and future jobs?
Yes, thank you. There are several models, but one of them that we have tried and worked with is the competency-based model, where university faculty members develop their curriculum after having views and feedback from industry and stakeholders. So, I mean, when I was working at the Commonwealth of Learning, I'm just showing it right now. I can send it in the, cannot be shown well. Okay, I'll send it in the chat. It's about an employability model that we developed there and was used with approximately 6 to 8 countries, whereby universities work with professional bodies to identify what are the competencies needed, let's say for engineers, lawyers, doctors, nurses, etc. And then they look at the curriculum and then they see where are the gaps, and they try to do pathways to make sure that they do match what the professional bodies and the society and the labor market needs. I think it's high time that we start developing a curriculum like that. Of course, we need to put the pedagogy and the learning outcomes as we've been taught. But today, with the dynamic landscape of tertiary education, we have to do that. This is one model. Another model that we are trying to develop is the whole, I would say, spectrum of micro-credentials, right? You know, micro-credentials, digital badges have been something that have accompanied technical vocational education for some time. Higher education have always been a bit timid towards the use of skills, adding skills to the traditional knowledge. But for years, we've heard that our graduates, they are very bright, but they have a mismatch with industry, with what's happening in the IT world, with digital literacy skills, with problem-solving skills, with global challenges. How we faculty will integrate that into an already heavy workload, already heavy student workload. Right? I think, and we've developed for Mauritius what we call a national micro-credential framework to accompany universities and students to be able to kind of update, reskill, upskill through these micro-credentials. Yeah.
And having said that, I want to also now throw this question to Dr. Bobino, and I'll also give the same question to Dr. Professor Tamzini. This is about web-based learning opportunities for students whilst in school. How can we enhance in-school internships and apprenticeship programs? And how can we scale this across our institutions as a way to build our students to be job ready when they go out there? How do we do this?
I think the discussion today is not very controversial because I agree again with all that has been said. But what I want to put the focus on is two other things that has not been discussed about yet. The first thing is a thing that we call a startup culture. So I worked a lot in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and I met so many brilliant students with brilliant business ideas. And at that time, this was like 15 years ago, there was a lack of departments where young startup ideas could gain help, like technically, economically, and so on. So I know that there are other regions like Kenya, like Ghana, where this kind of startup culture is very well established, and where universities also foster this kind of culture and promote that culture. So probably, and this is, AAU is the perfect platform to get into touch when we're talking about the startup culture, to bring together Ghanaian universities with Congolese universities and others. So this is one thing. And the other thing is, I think we should really focus on this kind of win-win situation that has been said several times in other contexts today, but really to go to business companies and to give them an idea what deeper collaboration could bring to them. So I always say economic players have the capacities, universities have the knowledge, and this is in fact exactly the balance where you have to match and to find different interests and to find the win-win balance. What economic players can bring to universities, like talking about curriculum, internship, and so on, and money, of course, also. And the other way around, what universities can bring to new business models or innovative inventions or whatever. So this is just 2 points very quickly.
Sorry, Professor Khalid.
Yeah. Did hear you at the same point?
Yeah, same point about how we can promote web-based learning in campus.
Okay. I agree with Julian. So I will give you some other maybe to complete this the way to scale across institutions. This how can work-based learning opportunities be scaled across institutions. So first of all, there is of course there is a relationship between the university and the industry should be relationship win-win, of course. But let me say in practice how this could be applied or what kind of models we have. So, of course, we can imagine, for example, the co-creation curriculum. So, when you have the industry involved in your the preparation of your curriculum, you guarantee their involvement for the rest of the during this the curriculum. So students, we can imagine what we practice here at SUS. So with the co-constructed curriculum, obviously, this is what we apply for the master program. So called here professional master. So we have people come from industry and they give lecture for our students, and they guarantee, the internship at the end of the second year. This is one of the models. Let me say the training and support for employees. The employer training programs, they will provide training sessions for employers on how to design effective internship and apprenticeship programs. So ensuring the understanding of the educational goals. So, as Professor Romela said, of course, we have to be open for the industry, but we don't forget that we are in academia, so we have the academic goals. So, but the balance between the two sides is very important. And this is very, very sensitive, I think. I will give you some examples. So we can imagine workshops on mentorship and supervision and how to help employees better prepare their support student learners. So there's many solutions to be open and open to the industry and to give our students the opportunity to go further and to be employable. So this is the goal, I think, for whatever the university is. So thank you.
Thank you, Prof. And I'll throw this last question to Professor Akinwande on, Prof, in what ways can labor market data be integrated into educational planning to make training more responsive and future focused? How can we do this to keep these two entities, industry data, infused in higher education, to keep training more responsive and future focused?
Thank you very much. I think I said something close to this the other time. It's more of having collaboration, having more engagement, and the information that is obtained from industries, in form of data, definitely can enable training. And as was also said by Professor Mohi, soft skills, very important. These are information that one could also get from industries. At times, we underestimate the values of soft skills that the students need to have before their graduation. It shouldn't just be the training based on the program that they are enrolled in. There should also still be interdisciplinary training. The information obtained, brought back with knowledge across programs, across disciplines in the institution, definitely better the training of, and by the time they graduate, they will be better off in industries. It is very crucial. We have that information from industries, training on divers of skills that can make them to relate very well in industries. It's beyond just the knowledge of the basic interests. By the time they get to industries, they meet with many people, and relationship is very crucial. So information obtained from industries, if brought back, can be used to enrich the curriculum formulation.
Thank you so much, Professor Akinwande. And it's been an exciting and very informative session thus far. If you followed our speakers' submissions on average question, as we shared, the dialogue has been very, very, very interesting. And as Professor Mohi said, there is need for more time to discuss these issues in scope, because these are big issues on their own. And I'll do that. I'll make sure that we keep this emerging issues wagon moving. For this purpose, it was to outdoor the AAU's 10 policy briefs, and afterwards we'll have enough sessions to keep the discussion more intense and more concentrated. So I would want to take few remarks from participants, questions and comments. I see Professor Suleiman's hand up. Prof, you can do just 2 minutes for us so we can wrap the session up.
Thank you very much. I want to commend the speakers for wonderful presentations, and you too for proper moderation. That's very commendable. I want to talk on one, the labor issue. How do we tailor our training to the labor market? I know very well that in Nigeria, the regulatory body agency, which is National Universities Commission, has developed a document which we call Labor Market Observatory. When I was director of academic planning, we used that document to guide us on coming up with new programs. And from that document, we knew that was around 2012, we knew that cybersecurity was becoming an issue. So we knew that there was a market demand for it, because Yahoo boys were just coming up, and Yahoo crimes, cyber crimes were coming up, and we just needed to key into it as a university. There was a demand for it, so we put together a team. We have a committee called Academic Planning Curriculum Development Committee, and as Director of Academic Planning, we started developing curriculum along cybersecurity to take first degree at cybersecurity science at first degree level. We developed the curriculum and took it to NUC, and it was discussed and approved. And today we have first degree at cybersecurity science in my university. So we always sense the environment and look at that document of labor market availability of NUC to quickly come up with programs for the country. Our program should be demand-driven. And that's why in the beginning of this dialogue, we suggested entrepreneurial university, a university that should be thinking of the market. And our curriculum should be OBE, outcome-based education, not content-based education. That is that for labor market. Then on internationalization, I think the internationalization issue came up in 2013 when I was at DVC admin. I was at AAU in Victoria Falls, and it was the theme of the conference that how do we internationalize our universities? We should come back home and do something. And the first thing we thought of is how to build to it. You have to build to it. You don't just overnight as a new university take it that you can internationalize overnight. No, you build to it. You start from local. I call it internationalization cycle. You start by building very strong home base, which I call strong local content. Then you move to national content, which is nationalization. Once you are able to get that, then you move to regionalization, maybe to collaborate with neighboring countries. And from there, you are now internationalized. Then you can build to globalization. And by the time you get globalized, then you can integrate it to local content. I will call it globalization these days. And by that, you have internationalized. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. And well done to all presenters.
Thank you so much, Professor Suleiman. I always want to commend you for your contextual contributions. I like the context of the outcome-based education opposed to content-based education. Thank you so much for always being there to give us a vivid context insight. I don't know if there's any other things around. I want to give my speakers I will say a little room to give their final remarks, and I will start with you, Professor Rumi La Rumohi, with your closing remarks on today's interaction with our team and everybody here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Darko, to be having organized such a session, and I think the comments from the audience were very pertinent and things which make us think. Definitely, each one of us, we have our own specificities because we come from very probably different contexts, but on the same continent, you will see different. I come from a small island state, and definitely there are certain issues that would be different, but the main core ones are reflections that all of us are having right now. And my last point is that the future is very uncertain, and we have a very difficult job of preparing graduates for an uncertain future. I think that's why we have to share, collaborate, and really put our, I would say, strength together so that we can move together and do justice to our students who are the learners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Professor Khaled?
I would like first to thank all of you. Thank you, Dr. Darko, for this giving me this opportunity to be here with you and to share with you my thoughts about different issues. And let me say that I'm optimistic, and obviously we have different issues. I don't like to pronounce the term problems, but we have different issues, crucial issues to focus on. Lastly, I would like to focus on the final question regarding the data. We have to base all our strategic future strategy on how to exploit, to gather data, to interpret data in order to give to our all ecosystem, educational ecosystem, the how to say that the means to face all these challenges. So data is very important to focus on this. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Bolanle Akinwande.
I would first like to appreciate the entire group of organizers. Initiative is a very fantastic one. It's an eye-opener. It has enriched me personally, I must say. And I think if this type of webinar continues, definitely within a long time, the institutions in sub-Saharan Africa transformed. At times, we have an idea of what should be done, but at times we still sleep over it. But when we have programs like this that is reminding us, then we will be awakened and we will all do the needful. And at the end of the day, we'll be better off. There are things that can't be done that we think are impossible. They are possible with information from this kind of webinar. So I thank you once again, and I will advise that you please endeavor to keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for second Wade. And Dr. Bobino, let's hear from you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Darko, for this wonderful moderation during the last 2 hours. This was really nice to have you as our moderator, and also thank you to all the other speakers. So just 2 quick final points. What I want to say is that I want to encourage you to strengthen the South-South connection, especially because I'm very critique with everything what's going on in the North-South collaboration, especially when we're talking about funding and how this is going. So from a kind of neo and post-colonial perspective, I'm very critique, and I do not like the actual developments. Europeans dictating how to define collaboration and so on. And this is why I think that South-South collaboration, not only within Africa and within those wonderful networks as AAU are important, but also South-South cooperation with Latin America. And the second thing is use those networks like AAU for more unity in a higher education system. And of course, for mutual exchange to learn from each other and use those wonderful opportunities as offered by AAU. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bobino. And I want to also take a remark from Dr. Octavius. Doc, can you hear me? Dr. Masunda, are you there? I hope we can get him back later. But let me say thank you very much to all of you amazing speakers. From your water background, and you came in and then you have been able to provide enough insights. I hope it's overwhelming today, such an overwhelming. And I would say we would do well to engage you on specific moments to provide more insight into the areas of your expertise on this emerging issues on higher education in Africa webinar series. And I would say that it wouldn't be possible if not for the motivation from my supervisor, who believed that we could do this, and he has motivated me to bring this as far. I'm trying to find him in the chat, but I think he may have left. So Professor Frederick Atama is not online, and I would want to use this moment to say thank you to him. He has supported in developing the 10 policy briefs for the AAU, and he actually gave me the task to organize 3 solid webinars ahead of time to outdoor these policy briefs. And we began with the first episode, the second and the third episode today. And I believe that with your feedback, that we should keep this webinar ongoing. He would give me his nod so we can make the Emerging African Higher Education webinar series a commonplace for all of us to meet and share insight into very, very critical areas affecting our higher education space. And on this note, I would want to say thank you to all our participants who have always stayed tuned to this program, and to our speakers who've always been here to share your insight. Have a nice day, and I will share the link of the video to you afterwards, and also keep you in tune of any developments with the webinar series.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.